Hey, this is Coach Deanna with another episode of the Winning Element podcast, The Athlete's Journey. Today, we are on the journey with Shay. Shay is the founder of Alpha Girls Soccer Academy and the host of Alpha Girls Soccer Podcast, where she aims to inspire, empower, and positively impact youth female athletes. You are going to dig this episode with Shay. We get into her athlete journey, we talk about injury, pressure, recruiting, and the power of owning your decisions. This podcast is brought to you by The Winning Element, a mental and physical performance platform for athletes. Our flagship product has been getting attention from Olympians, colleges, and high school programs across the world. We are in Australia, Japan, Canada, and Costa Rica. The flagship product is the Winning Element Gold Edition, which is my best-selling book, The Winning Element, An Athlete's Guide to Maximizing Mental and Physical Performance, and the 365-day Dynamic Planner. This program is going to be a game changer for you in 2019. You're going to learn hundreds of strategies to elevate your game and have the tool to help you organize and optimize your days. Listen, I know a lot of you made New Year's resolutions and goals that you've probably been slacking on, and it's time to level up. You know, you say you want success, growth, and to win, but what are you actually doing? And now is the time to take action and empower yourself with the strategies so that you can start to experiment and really get the results that you deserve. This comprehensive athlete development program is perfect for individual athletes and teams. Listeners and fans of this podcast will receive 10% off, free shipping, online resources, and a free audiobook, and even more bonuses. Make sure you visit www.BeTheWinningElement.com/gold edition. This podcast is also brought to you by Whoop. Whoop is my favorite wearable and the choice of professional athletes and serious fitness enthusiasts. If you are serious about performance, training, and leveling up your life, you want to get yourself a Whoop. Now, the Whoop provides data on heart rate, your sleep, your strain, heart rate variability, and more. Now, the data that I get from my Whoop helps me to plan my workouts, my recovery days, and make smart choices that better serve my mind and body. If you are constantly overtraining, you risk injury, adrenal fatigue, and decreased performance. And nobody wants any of those things. You know, I've been using my Whoop for about 2.5 years, and it helps me to understand my body and really get the most out of my training. Whoop is a little bit different than other wearables because it's subscription-based, meaning that you pay every month instead of all at once. And you can get one free month of Whoop by going to www.BeTheWinningElement.com/Whoop. As always, you can access show notes, the special offer for the Gold Edition, and our product highlight for this episode at www.BeTheWinningElement.com/podcast011. Hope you enjoy this episode with Shay. Let's go. Please welcome to the Winning Element, founder of Alpha Girls Soccer Academy, Shay. Shay, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. It's super duper sunny in Southern California. How is it for you up in Sacramento?
It's actually pretty nice. Yesterday we had some pretty gusty winds, but today the sun is shining, and so it's good.
Oh, that's so awesome. I was there a couple of months ago, and spring was just absolutely beautiful. Is it still nice up there, or is it starting to get brown? Because I know that you're in the burbs doing training.
No, actually, so January was nice, and then it got super wet, and so we literally just stopped raining like a few days ago. So it's been like nonstop rain for like the past 2 months. So we're still super green, and hopefully we're done with the rain for a few months. Well, I guess until next year.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm looking forward to when I come up there next, being able to hang out with you and see you in isn't it like the city of the trees or something like that? Like that's what the city of the trees.
I feel like every city is called that, but yes, the city of the trees.
I love it. Well, I'm definitely excited to hear more about your athlete journey because you've been on my radar for a couple of months, and I've been really admiring what you're doing and creating for youth soccer players in the Sacramento area. And, before we dive into your journey, I'd really like to talk about what's happening in women's soccer in 2019. How excited are you about what's going on the world stage for women's soccer, and what are your thoughts and predictions for the outlook and this year?
So the World Cup. So first, for my own selfish personal reasons, I'm just excited to watch the World Cup. I probably will clear my whole schedule, and that's probably all I'm going to do for the next
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
But no, like for the girls that I train and just for girls in general, like I'm so excited for them because when I was growing up, like I remember watching the 99 World Cup and just like those watching those games like totally shaped the player that I was. So I'm excited for those girls to like have those role models to look up to and then also like watch those games and study those games. Like I preach that all the time and not enough kids study games and learn from them. So it's like what better opportunity than now to sit there and watch games and learn from them and have a good time. So I think it'll be awesome. The World Cup always, kind of skyrockets the interest at the women's level and the women's game. So I'm just excited for everything that it's going to do for the women's game and, for all the girls that play soccer right now and all the girls that will play soccer after watching the World Cup.
That's amazing. I know when I was growing up, I think 99, that was when Mia Hamm was.
Yes.
When I think all of my yes, all of my friends who played soccer, they all had the same Mia Hamm poster on the back of their door. You know the one. You know that it's like iconic.
Yeah. And I had I had like Mia Hamm quotes on my wall, like stickers on my wall. So I was a little obsessed to say the least. But yeah, it was all good.
Oh my gosh. And you touched on something that's really interesting, and it's about, having athletes being able to have role models and also study the game, right? So like the role models is really interesting right now because, we're similar in age. So when you and I were growing up, we didn't have social media. Like, yes, we kind of had internet, but in terms of visibility into professional athletes' life, like, yeah, there was like LA Times articles or we had Sports Illustrated, right? That like, that's where we kind of got our content from in terms of sport and like interviews and all of those cool stuff. But now like these youth athletes really have the benefit of digging into not only the soccer and the lives of these athletes, but really seeing the behind the scenes, right? So some of our athletes are really great about sharing about their obstacles and their challenges and just things that they're passionate about outside of the sport. And there's other athletes where all we see is like gold, right? Like all we see is like the glitz and the glamour and the things. But I think that that's really powerful. For you when you were growing up, did you read Sports Illustrated or were you more watching the game and just like kind of like having this like this grandiose version of like who these athletes were? I mean, I know that was how I was.
I feel like I was more of like watching it on TV, like watching ESPN. I feel like that's all. It's like maybe there was YouTube, I'm sure, but like I don't remember ever watching anything than just like what was shown on ESPN or whatever platform that it was shown on. So yeah, like you said, it's crazy that kids now have access to like athletes put their whole lives on social media, and it's not just like them at the game, it's them like their whole life, like their practice schedule, what are they doing off the field to prepare. So it's really cool that they get to see this whole other side to it.
I think visibility is always really important and can provide a lot of inspiration and motivation especially for youth athletes, because they get to see more of what it takes, or that it's not just practice. It really is all of these itty bitty pieces that make this athlete be able to perform at the highest level.
Right. Totally. 100%.
So I'm curious about this because it wasn't the case for me, but for you when you were growing up and you were watching soccer, were you like taking notes and like studying the game of soccer? Were you that athlete, or was it, I'm kind of a big picture person. So like I'd watch a game, but I wasn't necessarily seeing all of like the statistical things or like patterns that were like, it's a growth area for me, is like seeing patterns. Were you just studying the game, or were you just more enjoying, or, what did that look like for you?
I wasn't necessarily like studying, like I didn't have like a notepad out. I wasn't like taking notes, but I was like, for me as a soccer player, that was one of my strengths, was like just knowing where to be on the field. So I would just notice the little things about how a player checks to the ball, like the shape of different supporting angles, just like kind of stuff like that. So I would say I was kind of in the middle of the kid that was taking crazy notes and the kid that was just enjoying it. Like I was like taking mental notes and then trying to translate that to my own play.
Ah, that's really cool. I think for me, I was more like the body movements, right? Like I'm really good
Mhm.
at, and even now, like when I go to a Zumba class, or whatever like class I'm in, I'm looking at how the body is moving and
Right.
how to imitate that with my body, which is really interesting
Hmm.
with Zumba classes because it's normally like a 5'1" instructor and I'm 6'1", so it's like I'm trying to
Oh,
replicate these like body movements, and,
yeah,
and I'm trying to like
that was
scale it.
good. Right. You just got to skip.
It's like I'm like, oh, okay. Instead of 2 inches, it needs to be 4 inches on my right foot, or something like that, to make it look as cool as they make it look. Or,
Right. There you go. Better than
uh,
I can say I do. I don't do Zumba, so props to you.
not anymore. I used to when I was in South Texas because we had it was all like merengue and salsa because it was South Texas, so we had a huge
Hmm.
Mexican influence on the
Totally.
classes,
Hmm.
and like I just like used to jump in there for fun sometimes because I didn't go out at night very often because I was training really hard and I was tired,
Right.
so it's like got to get my dance on in Zumba like once a week, but now not so much. But yeah, definitely Zumba classes in South Texas are different than Zumba classes in Southern California, which,
There you go.
depending on what city you are in, it's also very different.
I was going to
So,
say it's probably different in Southern California than Northern California too.
and I'm sure Arkansas Zumba is very different.
Yeah, if they have it.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's get into your athlete journey. Where did you grow up? I want to hear, when did you start playing soccer? What position did you start at? Tell me more about your athlete journey. Let's dive in.
All right, here we go. So I started playing soccer and basketball, actually. Those are my two sports, but I started playing sports at the age of 5. So as soon as, you're physically allowed to play sports. And my whole family was a sports family. My brother played, my bigger brother played. So honestly, I was obsessed with my bigger brother. So I just wanted to do whatever he did. And he did soccer, and then basketball, obviously. So growing up, we just played, gosh, I was super fast when I was little. So I played forward, I think, most of the time. And then my best friend and I, we actually played with boys, only boys, all the way up until we were 12 years old. So there's so many funny stories that can go along with that. Like, I remember one game we were playing against a boys team, and like I beat this kid, and this kid actually plays for like Real Salt Lake now, I think. But I beat this kid, and I hear his mom say, "Oh, she just thinks you're cute." Like, I was like, "What? Like, why
Ah!
did you have to turn it into that? Like, don't let her beat you." So, just and with basketball too, we played with boys, so that was like a really cool experience to see that. And then at age 12, my best friend and I, we moved to an all girls club called the Utah Avalanche, which is like one of the premier clubs in Salt Lake City. So I missed that part. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. But anyway, so we played club there. We played club until obviously college. And then I went on to play soccer at VCU. So VCU, I don't know if you know what that is, Virginia Commonwealth University. So I played there, but as an 18-year-old from Utah, I was super like homesick, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Richmond is an awesome city, and I absolutely loved my coaches and my team. But I was just too young, and I was just too homesick to be happy there. So then I transferred back to Utah State. Shout out to the Utah State Aggies. And then that's where I finished my career. But going back, so when I was 12 years old, so I think it was like probably like a year after I joined, well, maybe not even a year after I joined the girls club, I hurt my knee really bad. So I went to the doctor, and at the time he just said it was an MCL sprain. So, I took a few months off, and then I went back and I hurt it again. And they said, okay, take some more time. So I went back and I hurt it again. I think that happened 4 times total. And then in basketball, I went up for a layup, hurt it again. So my dad was like, forget this. We're going to a different doctor. So we go to a different doctor, and he does the ACL test, and boom, he's like, yeah, your ACL is completely gone. It's probably been gone for a while now. So then I had surgery when I was 13 years old and went on to have two other surgeries, one in high school and then one in college. So injury was a big part of my playing career, but I can't say that I didn't wish it would have happened because it shaped who I am today and helped me like learn work ethic and like recovering from an injury is mentally and physically probably the hardest thing I had to go through, but it shaped who I am today. So I would say I'm glad it happened.
I'm right there with you as somebody who has had 16 ankle sprains.
Oh my gosh.
8 and 8, baby. 8 and 8.
Dang. Yeah, ankle is one thing I never hurt, so I must have really strong ankles.
Yeah. I've got these high arches that do not help that don't help me. And I grew up playing basketball and volleyball, so mostly basketball. So you're jumping
Jumping.
and sprinting, and you're jumping and you're sprinting, and you're
Right.
in. And I was a post player, so I was in the key,
Mhm.
jumping and fighting for balls. So of course,
Mhm.
there are ankles and there are other people's ankles. Same thing with volleyball. You're on the
Yeah.
net and you're trying to close a block and your teammate's ankles right there. In addition to two other people from the other side also have
Mhm.
ankles and feet that are right there. So that's cool.
Right.
Let's dig into injury because I think it's a really important topic and it's always interesting when people have injuries throughout
Mhm.
their life, just as obstacles and as challenges. Do you find that, you said it shaped you a lot. Do you
Mhm.
feel like it was mostly on the physical side or on the mental side that helped to shape you as an athlete?
Definitely more on the mental side. Physically, like I said, I was extremely fast before I got hurt. And then after I got hurt, I don't know what the heck happened, but I went from being the fastest player on the team to like top two slowest
Oh
players on
my
the team.
God.
But anyway, so that's the physical part. But no, mentally, just because like I think I was out like when I heard it the first time at a 12 years old, I was out for like 8 months. So
What did you
number
do? What did you do during that time?
I gained some weight, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. So I we gotta we're pushing pause on your story. We gotta get into 12-year-old injury. So was that
Yeah.
were you completely defeated? Like what was the mindset other than eat everything and gain some weight?
You know, gosh, I wouldn't say I was completely defeated. Honestly, it was probably like my dad had a super, super hard time with it.
Oh,
But like, obviously, it was hard because, yeah, at 12 years old, it's like I'm trying to think. I
that's
don't even
eighth grade,
remember. Like,
right? I
yeah,
think that's
like
eighth grade.
that's so young. Like, you just think like, okay, well, I'm going to, I'll be back in a few months and I'll be ready to play. But when you actually get injured, it's like it takes a minute for it to actually hit you. They're like, all right, I got to go under the knife. And then after that, that's actually the hardest part is after the surgery. Like at 12 years old, being committed to going to physical therapy. I mean, at least once a week. I'm sure I went maybe a few times a week. But going to physical therapy in order to get the strength back, get the mobility back and just be ready to play. And then even harder than that is once you are healthy, once the doctor says you're healthy, it's like, okay, now you have to go from not playing for 8 months and babying your leg to now stepping on the field and pretending like you're totally okay. So that's the hardest part mentally is like getting over that fear of, okay, I'm healthy. I am, I've done everything I need to do. Now I can go out there and I can just play 100%. But it doesn't work that way.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, I was naturally a cautious kid. I was a worrier. So for me, it was like I was always worried when I stepped back on the field, like what was going to happen. I was scared to go into a tackle 100%. I played it extremely safe. Like I just didn't want to go through that again and I didn't want to get hurt again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And especially as a 12-year-old, like that's a pretty heavy thing. When
Hmm.
you did you feel really optimistic? Like so you went to the first doctor and they were like, "You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, just keep resting it." And then you go to the second doctor, and they say, "Oh yeah, we definitely need to get in there, clean it out, whatever they need to do to fix it." Was it a relief to find out that hey, like there's a solution coming, or was it like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be the same or play again? Like, what was the optimism going into the surgery?
I mean, obviously it was nice to like finally get an answer because we were just like, obviously there's something wrong. So that part was nice, but it was scary, like thinking, oh my gosh, like I said, I was naturally kind of a nervous kid. So you're like, I have to like have surgery, like what's going to happen? So just being worried about the surgery itself, that was like the initial scare. It was like, once I could get through the actual surgery, then it's a whole nother ball game. But at that point for me, I was just so nervous about the surgery. And then also like there had been times, where you would hear about, oh, like an ACL is a career ending injury, especially like
Oh man.
not saying when we were kids, but maybe our parents' generation, right? So like a lot of times that was a season ending injury. So there was always parts of it that was like, all right, if I don't like put in the work to get back, then it could possibly like I could end my career at 13 years old.
Oh my gosh. And that happens for some kids,
Mhm.
they get an injury and it either is a really bad experience and it sours sports for them for the rest of their
Mhm.
life, or, they have this, and I'm sure you've seen it in people that you've either gone to school with or even in siblings of teammates and all that,
Mhm.
that some people are just, that's a traumatic event for them and like their identity is no longer in athletics. And it's just like,
Mhm.
I used to be an athlete, not anymore. I live a life as a cripple. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like
No, yeah,
we
yeah.
see this as potentially career ending or changing.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
So you just had when you were having surgery after surgery, was it more maintenance stuff or was it traumatic events that happened every single time, like somebody slid into you and boop, there it goes, or was it, you're playing it safe, or was it the same type of injury or occurrence every single time?
No, so the first one that they misdiagnosed was actually a contact injury. I was a forward keeper, boom, just smacked right into her. The other ones before I had surgery were non-contact, my knee just giving out. And then my other two surgeries, so in high school, it was just kind of a bunch of scar tissue that had broken off,
Mm.
and they needed to clean up. So that was extremely easy, just kind of go in, clean it out. And then in college, again, just a non-contact injury. I cut, and then so back up. The first surgery was ACL and meniscus, so
Mm.
my meniscus was stitched up. So in college, it was just non-contact. I cut, and then part of my meniscus had torn. So some of the repaired meniscus was torn. So that was an easy surgery. They just had to go and shave out a bunch of my meniscus. So
Ah.
I don't have much of one now. But that happened what year was that? That happened my junior year in college. But that surgery was super easy. Like I literally was walking around right after the surgery. And I was a pro at surgery now. Like I honestly don't mind surgery now.
And that was kind of where I was going to go next is, you know, we get confident, like it's like this competence loop, right? So it's like the more competent we are, the more
Mhm.
confidence we get, the more confidence we
Yep.
get, the more competent we are, like, and how that
Yes.
can even be applied to something as interesting as surgery, that it's like, well, I've had surgery before, I
Mhm.
rehabbed it and was successful,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
now I'm going to do it again. So like having the
Yeah.
confidence to, or even confidence and resilience to really bounce back. Is that one of the biggest lessons for you as a youth athlete, is like, hey, I can
Yeah.
do
I mean,
this?
yeah. I mean, not only was I older and more mature in my other surgeries, but it's like, okay, I've done way worse than this when I was 12 years old. Like, I know that if I just work hard, then I'll be fine. Like, there was never a question as to if I was going to get back on the field or, stuff like that. Like, especially in college, there was not a doubt in my mind that I would come back stronger than before. Like, and I did. Like, that junior year, when I got hurt, I came back and I lost my spot, which sucked. Junior year was absolutely awful. And then came back my senior year, got my spot back, and it was like one of the best years. So it's just like knowing that it's going to take time to get back, but if you work your butt off, it will happen.
That's freaking awesome. So as a youth athlete, you had these injuries, and then you're playing for a competitive soccer program, and then what was the recruiting process for you like, and how did you decide to go to Virginia?
Yeah, so recruiting process for me actually it was fairly easy because I was on a team that was at one time we were like ranked top 20 in the nation. I
Wow.
had yeah, like the girls on my team, there was some that went to North Carolina, some went to Santa Clara. Like there was just we had amazing talent on our team. And our coach put us in the right position to be seen. Like she helped us through the entire process. She put us in the right tournaments and stuff like that. So for us, it was just like we just kind of had to do the work on our end. So send out emails when we needed to, reply to coaches when they emailed us. So it wasn't really a matter of if we were going to get recruited, but where we were going to get recruited.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I know that that's not the same for a lot of athletes today. I still work with a lot of I work with primarily volleyball players, and there are a lot of spots available, but there are also not a lot of
Yes.
spots available, and it's very competitive now, and just with the ability to communicate in terms of
Mm-hmm.
emailing and social media and all of the things that sport has kind of grown into today, I think it's even more competitive
Yes,
for
definitely. I mean,
athletes today.
yeah, and there's probably more playing today than there was, back when we played. So, yeah, I mean, but it's like, so as far as like choosing Virginia, so I only like I had been in, I was in contact with a few coaches, but it's not like I was fielding all these offers. Like I received two offers, one from Utah State, one from VCU. So when I went on a visit to each, and VCU, it just felt right. Like I like the vibe of the team. I love the coaches. So that's ultimately, and then also like I wanted to be different and I wanted to get out of my home
Heck
state.
yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yes,
So
you gotta
I was like, all
go.
right, I'm going to take a chance. And I went to VCU. And gosh, I remember when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I was like, I'm such a mama's girl. So I was like calling my mom. I was on the phone with my mom all the time. And you know, I love my teammates. I formed great relationships. Like, I've probably never had a team that was so like cohesive just because all the girls on that team were so far away from home that it's like we had to be each other's family,
Oh
you
yeah,
know? And like the coaches, they knew that. So it's like they were almost like our home away from home parents, you know?
absolutely.
So it's just like other than just being homesick, like it was amazing. But then when I was like, no, I can't do this anymore, I reached out to the Utah State coaches because I had, gotten offers from them before, and I told them that I was looking to come back to Utah, and they were, said that they would be happy to have me. And so then luckily it worked out to where I was able to go back to Utah State. And, yes, I love Virginia, but it's like I think I made the right decision of going back to Utah State. I believe everything happens for a reason. And who knows what my life would be like, if I would have stayed at Virginia. I don't know, but I'm happy with where I'm at now. And I met amazing people over there. I loved my coaches over there, and some of my best friends are still over there.
I lo-
So it was, just college is a crazy process, but you just got to, own your decisions and, live it the best way you can.
Absolutely. I was in super duper South Texas, so I'm talking like border of Mexico, Texas, and like we had a couple of Texans on our team, but they were still
Uh-huh.
from like 5, 6, 8 hours away from where we
Because
were at, because
Texas is
Texas
so
is
big.
ginormous, because it's an entire country.
Yes.
But yeah, like we had that home away from home thing where it's like, all right,
Hmm.
well, this is your family, or just other people who are at the school, other athletes and other
Hmm.
students, where it's like, well, we're all kind of going through the same
Yeah.
thing together. And
Hmm.
I think the power of like owning your decisions, when I talk to youth athletes who are looking at, do I stay close to home? Do I go out of state? I'm like, go, go,
Hmm.
go, go.
Just try it,
Try it. You can always come back. Like,
Exactly.
and I knew during my process too that if I didn't get out of California, I was probably never going to leave, because it's Southern
Yes,
California. So,
totally.
it was a real growth opportunity to, and I think that it's really good for everybody to go out there and try to, go somewhere where you don't have family, where you don't have anything built, where you
Mm,
literally have like blank slate, right? So
totally.
so you can really like step into your greatness, or really like try something new where it's like you
Mhm.
literally have a blank slate. You're not You're not limited by what you did in middle school or high
Right.
school, or because when you're in
Yeah.
elementary school, like you're in elementary school normally with the same people, and then you're in middle school with them, and then you're in high
It
school and
all
you're like,
falls the
do you remember
same.
that one time Daniel peed his pants, like and like that, like, and that's like one of those things that just like follows you, right? Like when you go to college, it's not like you have
gotta
someone
get
to be like,
away.
hey, do you remember that one time you peed your pants?
Yeah.
Like you don't have that, right? Like or maybe you
Yeah.
do, I don't know, or you own that. But just like the power of being able to own your decisions and go to create something that's yours. And if you come back, like ultimately you found out in your decision that hey, this wasn't a long-term good decision for you, and although it was a growth experience, you needed to move forward into a different state, into a different role, into a different team. And I think that athletes everywhere can really be served by owning their decisions. And then, when you feel like something isn't right, make the move.
Adjust. Yeah.
Adjust. I had a couple of teammates who stayed for too long. and
Yeah.
they were miserable and they hated their life, and it showed up in our team dynamic. It showed up in their life, and it was like, go.
Right.
If that's the right decision for you, you got to go.
And that's the thing too, is like I went just to like get out of my comfort zone, because like Utah is such a bubble. Like if you stay in Utah, like going back to Utah, so going from Utah to Virginia, culture shock was not that bad. But going back from Virginia to Utah after like 4 months, I was like, oh my gosh, Utah is crazy. The people here are crazy. No, but Utah is it's just really different, because the religion rules so much of what Utah does. So it just like, I needed to get out of that and like experience the world like outside of the bubble. So just like important for people to realize, like, if you make a mistake, well, number one, own it. And number two, if you fail, it's okay. Like you can solve the problem. Like I wouldn't say that I failed there, but it's like, even if you didn't make the right decision, and again, I think I did make the right decision, like you can always go back on it. You know what I mean? So just don't be afraid to fail. Like put yourself out there. If it's not right, then you can go a different route.
Well, nothing in life is really set in stone, right? Like the decisions that we make, like I think that a lot of what keeps us from making decisions is what we think about ourselves, what we think other people are going to think about our decisions, and then kind of a combination of those together, right?
Totally.
Like,
oh yeah.
I remember my freshman year, and like every year I kind of have like a lesson or a theme or like something that I'm kind of like working through, or that I've identified about myself that I really need to work on. And I remember my freshman year, I realized that I was really bad at making decisions. So anyway, it was anything from like, what ice cream flavor do you want? Like, what do you want, chocolate or vanilla? Like it was anything as small as like, what do you want that? And like, do you want to stay in this relationship, or like, do you want to X, Y, and Z? Right. So it's like, I realized that I hot potatoed a lot, and this is like, like I would literally be like passing this hot potato back and forth, but I'd pass the hot potato back and forth so much that it burned my freaking hands off because I couldn't make decisions. So I started doing this thing at the end of my freshman year, when I kind of realized that I realized this about myself, and I was like, this is not going to fly for the rest of my life. I can't hot potato and burn my fucking hands. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. Right. So I started being very like trying to be as decisive as possible about the smallest and weirdest thing. So I'm like, vanilla. I want vanilla.
Just
or
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, like whatever it is. Like you literally, Deanna, you have 5 seconds to make a decision, and that's what you got to go with, and that's the information that you have, right? So like obviously I wasn't making any big decisions and like being impulsive, but I was trying to train myself to trust myself to make decisions, and then or own the decision that I made,
right?
And then just be like, all right, well, next time I'm getting chocolate, or like whatever.
Yeah, and you learn. But like that's the thing that stops so many people from taking action, is they think about it too much, and they're worried about if they're going to make the right decision or not. Like just like you said, own your decision, make it, and then learn from it if it wasn't the right decision. So just like, you just have to do it.
Sometimes you just got to Nike it. Just do it.
Just do it.
So when you went back, so junior year is when you made the transition back to Utah?
Yes. No. I left after my freshman year. So sophomore year, I
Oh,
was
you were
back in Utah.
bold. You went bold.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you went back. What was the experience like, having a brand new team and like coming into something that had already been formed, right? So like you've
Yeah.
had this experience as a freshman at another program, and now you get to go at but you have to start from not necessarily zero, but you got to prove yourself, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. So being from Utah, I had a few players that I knew were on the team, either players that I played with or a few that I played against and I hated, but then we ended up being like best
That's
friends.
cool. I
So
like that.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's totally hard because it's much easier to join as a freshman on a team than to come in like as a transfer, because when you come in, you think, all right, like everyone is thinking, okay, is this girl going to take my spot, right? So it's definitely a big thing. I remember like the first few practices, like I think I was pretty out of shape. I don't know why I was out of shape, but I think I was out of shape and it was conditioning practices and I was just dying. And I was like, wow, this is a nice way to make a good first impression. So then, there was a few girls that kind of took me in. They're like, you got it, you got it. So it was like, when I look back on that time, it was definitely a hard time because the transition was difficult, even though I knew some of those girls, but it's like they had already formed those relationships and I had yet to form those relationships. But I eventually, felt welcome probably after, the first few months,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely was tough to like go from being in this group of people and then having to leave this new group of people and having to be a part of that family. Like a lot of me was like still comparing my relationships with my other teammates to my relationships with these teammates. Like VCU, like I said, everybody was away from home, so nobody went home on the weekends. Like everybody hung out on the weekends. But at Utah State, so many people were from Utah, so everyone would like go home and visit their
And
family.
I'm
So it's
sure
like,
family was a big thing there too.
and
So
so
so it was
yeah,
almost expected.
yeah. So then it's like, I was like, man, this sucks. Like everybody just goes home. So I'm just going to go home too. Like I'm going to go home see my family, which was great. But, it's just like there wasn't as much camaraderie until probably my junior year. Once you get older, it's like the freshmen all go home, the sophomores go home. Once you're a junior and senior, you don't need to go home. Like you're cool. Like this is your home now. It's like this is your home, this is your family. And that's when I really like my junior year. Like that was seriously like the best times of my life, those last 2 years of college, just because like those girls were my family and I loved like every second of it. It was amazing.
That's amazing. Did you throughout your so what was the season like for you, or when was your next like surgery or injury? Because I would imagine that there's probably one of these injuries in college. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I got there sophomore year, spring sophomore year, which spring is hard because that's when you just go run your butt off.
Yeah.
So I got there spring of sophomore year, and then I got injured the next season, so fall of my junior year.
Okay.
And I can't remember. I think it was towards the beginning of the season that I got injured, but I was only out maybe 3 weeks or so. So I didn't miss a lot, but it's still like I enough to get my, enough to lose my spot. And then that whole season was just a constant battle of me trying to win my spot back. And my relationship with my coach, that year wasn't that great, probably because I was blaming her for not giving me more playing time when really it was all on me. So it's just like a lot of that season I attribute to me just having the wrong mindset. Like maybe I didn't work hard enough. Maybe I blamed people for not, having me start or having me play more. And then junior year, like it told, or yeah, no, yeah, yeah. When did I get hurt? Sophomore year. And then the next year, I totally flipped my mindset, and that's what like I got team captain. Like it was a total like 180 from the year that I got injured. So it's just I don't even remember what question you asked, but
just
It
about
was
the about injury and just like what that looked like in terms of like being able to bounce back from that, or like how long the injury period was.
Yeah, it was super quick, like 3 weeks. I wouldn't even hardly call it an injury period, just because it was so quick. But then again, like in college, when you are in rehab, your rehab is every single day,
Yeah, it is.
maybe twice a day. It's like
Yeah, it is.
you have like double the workload when you're injured because still have to go to every single practice, every single weight session, every film session,
And
every
then
meeting,
2 hours of
and
athletic training room.
you're in that training room for like 2 hours a day, doing whatever. So like being injured in college takes up way more of your time than being healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I had, of course, ankle injuries in college. I had my sophomore year and then my senior year were the 2 years that I had those injuries, and then I also had I just had a shoulder issue my senior year. I just had taken so many swings.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I had taken so many swings. It was just overuse. But just the amount of time and effort it takes to like rehab
Hmm.
and bounce back and try to earn your spot or prove that you're not just, taking time. I had a coach that thought that I was milking my injury. Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
and like she had me come back, or my senior year she had me come back earlier than I was ready to,
Oh shoot.
and it was definitely it was one of the reasons why it didn't heal the way that it
Hmm.
should have, because she had me come back
Hmm.
sooner than I wanted to. And
Right.
then we're friends on social media, and she keeps up with what I do now sometimes. If she's
Hmm.
listening to this, she's gonna laugh.
I
She's gonna
know,
be
my
like,
coach
of
too.
course I thought you were milking it, is what she's gonna say. She's like, you're being a wussy about it. No. But and then she would see that I had 2 or 3 more ankle injuries after I had
Okay.
been with her, and she's like, you and those ankles, and I'm like, well, if you would have let it heal the first time, it would. So
It's
like
your fault.
we just joke about it, but oh my gosh. But just, there's so much to recover from, in
Hmm.
college when you're injured. You've got how you feel about it, your mindset, plus you're trying to graduate, plus you've got teammates, and then you've got a coach, and then you've got an athletic trainer. And, of course, like, you want to be playing, you want to be with your teammates, you don't want to be in pain, but at the same time, it's like this is time where you really need to take to heal so that you can come back stronger. And given
Hmm.
that you had a lot of confidence to come back, and like, I'm sure that really served you in your senior year when you were able to come back and bounce back.
Hmm. Yeah, like senior year, it was like I said, my mindset was totally different. Like I knew I worked my butt off that summer season because I didn't want to repeat of what happened last year. Like I had so much like built up like anger and resentment from that last season. So it's like, all right, I got to flip it, and now like I have to take responsibility because it is my responsibility. So that's when like I worked my butt off that summer before my senior season, and just really took it upon myself to be like a leader on that team. And then it, ended up, like I said, being the best season that I've ever had.
Wow. So as you were going through your college experience, what were some of the strategies that you used to help you elevate your game and really get to this place where you had that mindset to be able to push forward and still be successful?
A huge thing for me that I used before games was visual. I hate saying this word, visualization. Such a hard word for me to say. But anyway, so I use that a ton. Like anytime we had big games, like I didn't use it at the beginning of my college career, but towards the end. But anytime we had big games, like, on the way, sitting in the bus, I would just close my eyes and take myself through the game. How was I going to warm up? How was I going to play? How was I going to feel? And we really we had it was one of my professors actually. He helped train like some of the US ski team, and he's a sports psychologist. So he would come in and do kind of like visualization sessions with us, and then like gave us the tools that we needed in order to have like a positive mindset and learn those skills so that it could actually help us in the game. So that's a big one that I used in college. It's one that I preach to kids now, and it's one that I use honestly in like a lot of what I do today. Like if I'm going to have a phone call with someone that I'm nervous about, or if I'm going to go speak in front of people, like whatever it is, like I will visualize it so that I'll be confident. And that's a big thing for me is if I'm confident, then I'm going to do well.
I'm the same way. Every time I do a workshop or a session,
Mm-hmm.
I'll dedicate visualization time to really like going through. And I don't know if this is the same for you, but my sessions, the podcast, like whatever, it always goes 100,000 times better than I could have ever imagined. Like most of the
Uh-huh.
time, like almost every single time, it's way
Right.
better than I could have ever imagined. I'm like, man, why didn't I think of that when I was planning that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the magic of like being in the moment and being
Mm-hmm.
present. And I'm sure it's like being able to read the room, and you're like, oh my god, this is the best example I could give. And
Yeah.
then you just like you put it out there instead of like spending time thinking about it or visualizing it, but having the experience of visualization and the
Mm-hmm.
preparation to getting to the point that now you're in flow and you can relax because
Mm-hmm.
you've done the preparation work. And I think that that's the same for athletes.
Yes.
We do the preparation work, and we cover all as many of the bases
Right.
as we
Training.
can.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to game time, we can really like relax into that preparation, but then ascend to these like higher
Right.
levels of peak performance where you are,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just in your mind. It really, you're living the experience.
Yeah. Just like thinking about it now, like I remember I think it was the last game I ever played. I was sitting in the bus. It was the conference championships. I had like Tech Nine in my headphones just bumping. And then I just remember like visualizing that game like to the most like little detail you can possibly imagine. And like just going out there and just, I'm sure when you play, it's just like you're in this absolute zone that like no one can take you out of. It's like the best feeling in the world to be in that zone. And just like there's no better, like if I could go back to that moment, like, oh my gosh, it was like the best time of your life when you're in that zone and you're like fighting with your teammates. But I attribute it to like the preparation mentally, the preparation before of getting in that zone, and visualization helped me get in the zone.
Heck yes. It's magic, right? And
Yes.
every time, and I got like chills right now because I got
There you
excited.
go.
And
All
I'm
right.
sure
That's what I did.
like that's like the power of visualization and just like our mind and our experience, right? It's like anytime that we replay these moments of like these peak performance moments, or just
Mhm.
like all of like the happiness, like our body remembers,
Yes.
like our mind remembers at a cellular level
Hmm.
what happened. So anytime that we recall these memories, those like little bits of that, little magic pieces are sprinkled within our bodies. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
hey, you know exactly what this feels like. Oh, do you remember this? Oh, yeah, that feels good, doesn't it? Oh, you should
That's
be
what
there
you're,
right now. Oh, yeah. Like your body's like already there, like trying to get you there.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like your mind doesn't know the difference between if it actually happened or if it was just like imagined. So that's why it's like, if you imagine it, you'll step on the field and you'll be like, oh, I got this. Like I've been here before. I can do this. I did it before. I'm going to do it again and better.
I freaking love it. I love that we're talking about visualization because it's something that I'm really passionate about and that I do in my own life. So
You know,
hearing that you're teaching it to youth athletes, and have you had them have really positive experience with visualization, or are you still like trying to convince them to do it?
I'm still trying to convince them. I'll be like, it's really simple, it's not like you got to sit there and get into like your Zen or whatever. But so it's something that kids are like, it, it's something that takes time to like get them to buy into.
Yeah.
But eventually I'll have them bought in and they'll do it and it'll be great. But I'm still working on getting them like bought into it can be simple and it can get you ready for a game and it can help you become more confident and play better. So I'm still working on it and like getting the wheels turning, but it'll get there.
Well, we're planting seeds, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
we do with youth athletes, is like we plant just like there's seeds that have been planted with us
Hmm. Exactly.
that they've been hanging out there for a while, and that
Hmm.
we're just starting to see them sprout. And we're like, oh my god, how did that get there? Oh my god, now I know what that means. Like
Yeah. You just got to
like
keep watering it.
and it's like, oh my gosh, like we finally get there, right? It's It's insane. I love it. I freaking love it. I did a session last week and we're talking about like visualizing and stuff, and like you're saying, you don't have to get in your Zen moment. You can you can share this with your youth athletes. Like, how many times do we go to the bathroom a day?
A lot.
It's like, it's at least like 10, right? Like, you're between 10 and 20 times of sitting on a toilet. Like, that's how often you're sitting on a toilet, right? So,
right.
And what do we do when we normally sit on the toilet? We do this.
We look at our phone.
For everybody who's listening, I'm making the swiping through motion. But yeah, like but you're in there for anywhere between like 30 seconds and 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing, and maybe longer. I don't know. But that's a perfect time for you to, like, you're in a relaxed position anyway, like close your eyes and, go through whatever you want to go through. You don't have to.
You don't have to have candles and music.
You don't have to do it.
I mean, it definitely helps, but you don't have to do that.
You can literally spend 30 seconds to 2 minutes thinking about, for them, I was talking about their passing platform, or talking about like their body position to the ball, or like even for you, like juking out other players. I don't know what the official soccer.
That's a good term.
Yeah. Juking out other players, breaking ankles, hopefully not really breaking ankles, hypothetically breaking ankles, shaking players
like,
off.
That's what I tell kids. Like, most of you can't drive. So while you're in your car and your mom or dad is driving you to your game, like, I know you probably have your headphones in anyways, so why not just like turn on the music, close your eyes, and then think about it. Like, it's not taking any extra time or energy. It's just like, you just have to do it. It's just like we talked about, just do it.
And it's just that, well, it can be just that easy.
Can be.
That's really cool. Well, what else do I want to talk about with you before we gotta go? I know we wanted to talk about pressure and kind of obstacles. So in college, what were some of the other than injury, what was one of the biggest obstacles for you, or like the biggest lessons that you learned because of that obstacle?
I'd say I actually had more obstacles playing youth soccer than college soccer.
Okay, then let's jump into youth soccer then.
So like, I feel like there's honestly more pressure on me during youth soccer. And I don't know if my dad's going to listen to this. Love my dad.
That's
but
fine.
He put a lot of pressure on me as a kid. Like I said, we were a soccer family. And I was kind of that kid out of the siblings that was going to make it. Like, I was going to be the one to do good things, to do big things. Not that my siblings didn't. Like, my sister played college soccer too. But it's just like, he had all of his focus on me. And if I didn't perform, I would hear it. Like, on the way home from the game, it would be like being interrogated of why I didn't do this, why I didn't do that, why I didn't play hard, just like stuff like that. So there was just so much pressure on me as a kid, not only from my dad, also from my coaches. And it almost brought me to quitting. So like right before I got recruited, I was this close to quitting, so close to quitting. Oh my gosh. And it was like right before I actually got recruited, I made this decision. Am I going to quit or am I going to keep playing? And so just the pressure that was put on me to perform as a kid, it was super, super tough. But then when I got to college, like, my dad wasn't in my ear. So, he kind of changed his outlook on things once I went to college, and it was totally different. So it's like, I didn't really have that kind of pressure on me in college so much. And if I did from my coaches, I knew how to handle it. But just like pressure is a huge thing. And what I try to teach my parents now is like, don't harp on your kid for like the little things. Like, don't focus on the results, focus on their enjoyment, focus on how they played, focus on like things that they can control. So that's just a big thing, because I don't ever want kids to go through, not playing the sport just because they had too much pressure put on them, or because they don't enjoy it. So that's like a big thing, is I want kids to use sports to have fun, to help them grow in life and in their sport. So that's kind of my pressure story.
I like that. I think it's something that I see too a lot, even when I'm reffing volleyball, and even in some of the athletes that I'm doing private coaching with now, is that the parents, I almost do like 2 sessions, like one for the parent and one for the kid, because the parents are oh, and especially with volleyball, it's a team sport. So,
Mhm.
they're like, we gotta, you know, they're not winning. They've lost two tournaments in a row, and
Mhm.
we got third place instead of second or first, and we're falling in the things, and we're doing this and this, and I'm like, they're 15 years old.
Mhm.
I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
volleyball's number one. Volleyball's a very difficult sport, just because it's
Mhm.
so skill specific, and
Right.
everybody's bad at it. Like volleyball's a really hard sport, and it
Mhm.
takes six people working in symphony and in this
Totally.
crazy like concert. And I imagine that soccer is the same, right? It's like there's everybody's moving.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
When it's done right, yes.
when everything's kind of moving in concert and reacting to like the same thing,
Mhm.
and there's like these prescribed movements that kind of go
Right.
around, and like team strategy, and then everything that else that happens.
Mhm.
And parents especially, they're not in practice. And some of our parents, like, they played the sport and they have a little bit of like IQ when it comes to like
Mhm.
strategy, but like parents are so quick to have analysis on what the coach is doing or what the kids are doing, and there's like this bigger picture that a lot of parents just can't see yet, or they
Mhm.
might not see. But unfortunately, sometimes that trickles down to the athlete, and then the athlete will be like, well, coach is making a bad decision because they're not doing this and this, and
Mhm.
it goes, and I'm sure you see it too, like it can go toxic very quickly, not only for the
Yeah.
coach but also for the team, right? It was like anytime we're starting to second guess, or I say fall out of line, like we all have our positions, and you have to know what you got to know what your role is and what your position is. When is the
Mhm.
time to speak up? When is your time to make adjustments? And then there's like this bigger plan
Yeah.
that kind of goes over the top of it, and sometimes you really do have to do your job and fall in line and ask questions after the game, or ask questions later of like, oh hey, I was curious, I noticed that we made this decision, why did we do that, and getting curious about why we did things rather than rejecting why we did them.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you find that that's
Yeah.
pretty
I mean,
consistent in soccer too?
exactly. I feel like most youth sports are very similar when it comes to like how parents behave on the sidelines and how they critique coaches and critique their kids. So I feel like it's not like volleyball parents are different than soccer parents. I'm sure it's the same, and it's like it's all the same message that you just talked about.
Well, hopefully, I'm not a parent, and I know you're not either yet. but one day, so we don't know what it's like to be parents.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
so so we have, there's something we don't understand about that, but
Yeah.
hopefully,
Exactly.
when we do get there, like I've heard that parenting teaches, it's like the greatest teacher that you could ever have, right?
Mhm.
Is because not only are you, responsible for like making sure that your kid like stays alive, number one, but also like thrives on top of that,
Yeah.
right? But also like what it teaches you about yourself. And, just as the kids are learning, just as our athletes are learning, how to be better people and how to perform on and off the court and how to communicate with teammates and how to be autonomous human beings,
Yes.
the parents are also learning all of those things
Hmm.
as
How to
well.
let them do that. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Totally. Hopefully, yes. Hopefully.
Uh, well, I want to shift now to Alpha Girl Soccer. You've had a rich sports experience. You've had a lot of really great experiences that make you an incredible role model for youth athletes today. And I know that you're helping to cultivate this next generation of soccer
Mhm.
players. Tell me more about how and why you created Alpha Girl and what your plans are for growth and expansion, because I think what you're doing is so powerful and so awesome.
Yeah, so it first started. So when I moved to California, I was working. Well, I had a hard time finding a job. I was like trying to find jobs that I wanted to do, couldn't find them. So I got a bunch of random jobs. I worked at a gym as a personal trainer. I worked at a physical therapy clinic, and then I saw this app called Coach Up. Have you heard of Coach Up?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started doing a little bit of training there with a few kids, and I did that for probably about 6 months. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. So from there, it's like, okay, maybe I can like make this into something that I really want to do. Like I've always growing up had like this something inside of me that kind of wanted to have my own business or start my own thing. And I've never like really gotten too much into it. But when I started training, I was like, okay, maybe I can actually make this thing a reality. Maybe this is my way that I can, number one, like make money, and number two, do what I love, helping kids.
Yes.
So after working with Coach Up, I was like, all right, it's time to move on from Coach Up so that I can have more freedom and, so they're not sitting here controlling my conversations and all that kind of stuff. So it was November, early 2017 that I broke away from Coach Up. And that's when I started Alpha Girl Soccer Training is what I called it. So I had like maybe five clients that I trained. And then I continued I had a club team I was coaching. I was working for Sac Republic, which is a USL team here. And I was coaching at a junior college. So I had like a million different things I was doing. And then it was November of 2017 that I was like, all right, I think I want to put 100% of my time, my energy into helping kids one-on-one in groups through Alpha Girl Soccer. And I was going to quit everything else. So come to February 2018, I quit every single other job. I took the leap of faith and I focused solely on change my name to Alpha Girl Soccer Academy. And that's just like kind of like the college thing. Like, honestly, it was a huge leap of faith. Like, I wasn't guaranteed a penny. Like, how was I going to, like, I wasn't guaranteed anything. I cut off every stable source of income I had to start this thing, but I knew that it was something I was meant to do and something that I wanted to do, and that if I worked hard enough, I could make it happen. So fast forward to today, like I've trained, hundreds of kids, either, in private training or in my groups or in my clinics. And now like I'm starting to even branch out from, training on the field. So I just opened up a summer empowerment series. So it's where I'm helping girls, off the field with their confidence, with their motivation, with their mindset, all that kind of stuff. And then also now I'm working on, college recruiting aspects. So I know we talked about college a lot, but in college, I worked in the college administration side of things. So I've always been interested in like helping kids get to that level because it's something that I loved so much and something that I learned that hundreds and thousands of kids don't know how to do unless they're on like a top team like I was. Like there's such a lack of education around the college recruiting world, like especially in soccer. So there's thousands and thousands of thousands of kids that are good enough to play, but they just won't ever get looked at. So that's like one of the huge things I'm working on now is how can I help more kids, number one, become educated on the recruiting process, and number two, how can I help them actually take action to do what they need to do in order to get recruited. So I'm working on like an online program right now that will be released in early May. So that's something that I am absolutely super excited about doing, in addition to just keep on building my training. One day I look to get a facility where I can train kids out of, have workshops out of, maybe like a little study area, just a place where I can like come together with people in my community. So that's kind of the vision, like the next 5-year vision that I have for the Academy. And I'm just super excited to see everything plan out.
Nice. Well, I'm super excited to see it too, and hopefully come and visit you up there because I know what you're doing is really impactful in the area that you're at, and it's so needed. Like your focus on not necessarily the top tier athletes,
Totally.
The underserved athletes are those middle tier, and they have the skills, they have the capabilities, they have the ability to go and play at a higher level. And sometimes we just need mentors, and sometimes we just need the information and the strategies and just the help. And for you to be doing that in the soccer world is going to be really cool and make a huge impact and be a domino effect for all of the athletes that you work with. And I'm super excited to see you grow.
Yes. I mean, that's what it's about. Like there's only so much I can do, on the field with kids. So now it's about how can I impact their lives in a positive way, in different areas of soccer and just in life.
I love it. Well, we didn't talk about it, but we're going to do it anyway. So this year, the Winning Elements theme is unstoppable. So we're creating different videos and campaigns around what unstoppable means. And The first 2 videos are out, but we have more in the works now. And you don't know this, but you're going to be featured in one of the next ones. That's what I said you didn't know. But yeah, you're going to get featured. I'm super stoked about it. So you're going to be featured in probably the next installment of the Unstoppable campaign. And unstoppable means different things to different people. But for you, what does unstoppable mean? And how are you really living into that today?
Yeah, so unstoppable, it's like, to me, it's pushing through whatever comes out your way, whether it's something that gets in your way or someone that gets in your way. It's pushing through and not letting whatever it is stop you from living out what you're trying to achieve. So like right now, like there's a million things in my way that could stop me from what I'm doing. Like it's crazy, but what I've learned is that you have to take failure. Failure is going to happen 100%, no matter who you are. It's going to happen. So being unstoppable is taking that failure, realizing that it's there, being aware of that failure, and then flipping it and learning from that failure so that you can continue to learn and grow. So like, to me, failure is a great thing because without it, you're never going to be able to learn and you're never going to be able to grow. So it's just taking that, not letting anything stop you, not letting anyone stop you from achieving what you really want to achieve.
Well, you are unstoppable. And I'm excited. I'm so excited for what you got coming up. And, you know, I hope you, the listeners, enjoyed Shay's journey and that you will continue to come back to this podcast to become inspired by the stories and empowered by the strategies shared so you can level up, unlock your true potential, and enjoy your own journey. I'm so grateful for your attention and hope that you got something special out of this episode. Make sure you follow Shay and Alpha Girl Soccer on Instagram, as well as the Alpha Girl Soccer podcast, which we didn't really get into, but you definitely need to check that out. We'll do a whole nother episode about all kinds of fun stuff. You know, if you're in the Sacramento area, check out her upcoming camps. And you said the Empowerment Series is what it's called?
Yeah, Empowerment Series, which will be local to Sacramento as well.
Beautiful. Well, if you're in the Sacramento area, check out the Empowerment Series as well as the upcoming camps. And please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to tell your teammates and friends about this podcast. If you want to see us interact, you can actually watch this episode on YouTube. And feel free to join us on the journey online at www.BeTheWinningElement.com. Until next time, train with purpose, play with passion, and seize the day every day.